rest of the regions. Now, this looks really cool. What you're going to do in this interface will be simply drag a region down to the next row to make it appear. And I did it this way because I think if we started here and we're trying to drag our slider off the edge, I just think that's kind of it's not really capable to do it that way with the slider. So you'll be able to pick up a region and drag it to the next row. Now we've dropped it, and we've got our 3 up there. They're still the same size, so if you were to look at your home page right now, they're going to look just like this. Those 3 are going to be that size, and this one's going to be down here. Now I'm going to take and make this one I just moved full width. Now we're going to start actually adjusting the top row again to make them all the same width.
But they wouldn't have to be the same width. If you wanted to leave like a wider margin between first and second, you could do that.
You could leave it just like that.
Yeah.
They're going to render exactly as you have put them in this interface. So that's the simple part of static regions. That's what actually gives you the most flexibility. The dynamic is meant to be very structured so that it can do the content first order.
Static regions have more flexibility, dynamic regions are structured, and it sounds like the wording could be confusing.
Kind of does, doesn't it?
Well, if dynamic regions are the only ones you can use source first ordering it.
So it's
I think that's the difference.
How they're being rendered on the page.
Yeah.
That's the dynamic portion.
That's the dynamic piece of it, is that you can change the source order. These, you can't.
Right.
What if I wanted 2 in the top row, 1 in the second row, and 1 in the third row? Can I do that?
Well, despite the fact that my wireframe didn't have enough space,
Yeah.
I could demonstrate that now once I went to the point where I actually dropped this region here,
Yep.
bam, now this is an active new container.
Right.
So
now there's
in the interface now, this is going to go, and there's going to be room for you to now do that again
I
if you
see.
choose to.
I see.
But if you were to take this one and drag it to the one below, there's probably going to be a pop-up that says, "What the hell are you doing?" And then this one will go away. You know what I'm saying? If you
It should say exactly that.
What the hell are
It
you
should-
doing?
What the hell are you doing?
WTF. So yes, you will continue in this method. So you could put 20 regions in a zone, and then just do them however you want. 3 in line, and then 2 in line, and then 1, and then 1, and 3.
My God, it's like panels almost.
Not the first time I've heard that.
So would you be able to do like something that says it before, like say, sort of create a mini, like a sidebar with two small blocks on the left and like a bigger block, region on the right. So do that stacking up.
Not with this, because you
That's
can't do an
interesting.
inline. You can't do an inline. You can't go ahead and embed one thing.
No, I'm not
into
talking
it.
about embedding. I'm talking about essentially having. It would look like two small regions on the left-hand column, and one big one on the right, stacked on top of spanning the 2 rows.
I'm confused. So you're saying these 2 are like this, but let's say they're tall.
No. Well, yeah, fine. Yeah, we can do like that, and like one big square one covering 2 rows worth.
It's the same thing you
It's-
had asked before.
well,
basically.
Sort of what Seth was asking.
I think it's different because this is only kind of just visualizing what could be in there. These, depending on the content you put in, through Block Manager, through context, through however you're going to dump your content in, they could be 2 long rows, and then this one, you know, if it comes back and they're all touching, let's say, it could have as much as it needs in to be your columns. Am I confusing what?
No, I think you seem to be treating these zones. It's essentially a row on your screen.
Yes.
Not doesn't you can't be mixing. Like to use a table notation, like you can't do like row
Call
spans.
span, row span. No.
But 960 doesn't let you do that anymore.
Right.
That's the thing.
Oh,
960
okay.
doesn't let you. The limitation is not Omega. It's
Correct.
960 doesn't do that. You can do it in Drupal. You just have to do it with blocks.
Well, that's the next thing to fix. That 960's gotta go.
We're gonna pause.
Can I ask a question and?
Yes, no, please.
If this isn't already there, then I'll go to your feature queue.
This.
I'd asked you a question about this one before, if there's a way that you can say if you have, a set of regions set up like this, that you can force them to justify at the bottom. So if the content in PostScript first is this long and PostScript second it's this long,
Yes.
and whatever, that if like a toggle,
Yes.
you can say,
Yes.
have them justify.
Yes. What I'm going to do, and I thought about just putting it right in the theme, I'm not going to do that. It's a little too much presentation. I am going to be in this iteration integrating Skinner. It's the current Drupal 7 version, they totally broke it about a week ago. I was about to put it in, and they're changing the entire structure behind it. It'll be applied by that. So it'll be one of those recommended modules. If you use Fusion, they say it's required.
I think that's, I
All
used
their-
adaptive theme, and I had that
Okay.
feature, you could toggle the switch and say, make these justify.
Exactly. And I believe that's the same way they did it, and that's what it'll be. So that might be one of the zone settings. So forget this one's here, but it's just these three. There might be a setting in your little menu that says, set these to equal height. Boom, and it's done, and adds the class,
Yep.
and that's all it'll take.
Cool.
But then it's just up to you to make sure there's a border around it so you can actually see that, yes, they are equal height.
Yeah.
But common request, but a lot of those kind of things I think will get thrown in with Skinner integration that will make it really simple and then just apply it to anything.
Jake, just to be clear, just go back for 1 sec. We're looking at a single zone with 4 regions, not 2 separate zones, right?
Correct. Because as this started off, in its default configuration, that's what it was. Four regions all in line, all pretty small.
But it's taking advantage of the fact that with 960, if you define the grid bigger than what will fit, 960
Just
bumps it down.
because
Or
the-
if you add a 1 pixel border on it.
don't do that. Yes, I didn't mean to say that, Roger. Don't put a border on your region. Put it on something inside the
Yes,
region.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
we've all been there.
Yeah.
In fact, can you make a drop down for that? Make a drop down for that?
For what, the border?
Yeah.
You did have a question, did you?
Yeah, it did, and then
No.
just sort of another higher level question.
Yeah.
So what, the tools we're looking at are primarily going to be used by themers to simplify their setup tasks rather than end users, or do you foresee?
My goal, initially when creating this, even before I had wireframers thought of what this interface should be, it was that anybody can do it. If you've seen Drupal Gardens and looked at what they're doing now for
And buzzer,
The-
yeah.
making it so simple for anybody to come in and not have a clue what the hell Drupal is, but actually, okay, I can build my site and I can make this go over here and do these things. My goal is that this is intuitive enough when you come to these pages that you're able to do it. You're able to, when you get to that other page, like, I want my other sidebar over there, and it's done. So my goal is that it's usable for everybody, so that you hand this off to a client and they're like, I want to make that sidebar wider. Well, pretty easy. And you're done. So that's my goal. Will
That's
that
been
be
your
the
goal,
end
that's been your
effect?
goal for 2 years now, when you first
Yes.
started working on it. This was
All along.
always, I remember sitting with Jake and brainstorming and trying to figure out how to put something like this together. And 2 years later, he's now at the point of wireframes.
Fine.
It's really a hard problem. People don't realize that he's really put a lot of thought into this because it's flexible enough to get to where he can now build things like, oh yeah, this is going to be a drop zone, and it's now conceivable. Whereas before, we were just trying to figure out how to make this even come close.
Yeah.
Making things simple is hard.
It's
Yeah. And so, and so, users can customize their theme on a per user basis then?
per user basis.
I mean, I mean.
No, this is not, that's not the goal of this.
Now, the goal of this is you take a theme out of the box,
Yeah,
and you can do a whole lot of configuration without ever touching code, without ever learning CSS, without ever, you go ahead and you go, I want to change the colors, and I want to move this over here and this over here, and all of that will not require a professional themer. All of that will be your absolute basic webmaster who, turns the thing on.
I've used the internet before, I can go do this.
That's what I'm trying to understand better as the user. Whether it's in, because you know how individuals can customize, can choose their own theme.
Right.
I'm just trying to understand what the scope is here.
That's the
So-
Delta module though,
Ooh.
to say that, well, let's say,
It
if
could
I'm
be.
looking at this path, I have this theme, I'm looking at that path, I have another.
Have user settings for theme.
It'd be in the profile, user profile.
Could be.
How many
But
people
you
want
could set up, I'm sorry.
how many people want to have, to open theirs? I mean, I've seen sites that allow you to do that. I don't ever want to build a site where I'm gonna say every user can come in and redesign the site, for their preferences.
Oh, that's
I mean,
true, because
Well, there's
That is-
examples.
if you had,
I mean, if it's a Facebook or something like that, fine, but.
Well, no,
This is your logo.
I think what he's talking about is a la iGoogle.
Right.
And there actually is, for Drupal 5, there was the
My site.
my site module, my site, which I used and it worked, and it was interesting, and